Hello, it is I. Now, cars that are typically fast usually have design features that easily give away that the car is fast, whether it be a bulky body kit, quad exhaust tips, or even massive wheels. However, there are some fast cars out there that can easily outrun supercars which look very subtle and understated, while these cars are known as sleepers. And today I decided to compile 10 examples into this video. So here are 10 normal looking cars which are incredibly fast. Now before getting into this video...
excuse me?
What?
What kind of star sign are you, mate?
Oh, I'm the Oid star.
Oh, you're the Oid star, so you're an Oid.
Yep, I'm annoyed at all the people right there who don't press the like button. Are they skunked? 4,000 likes is the target as per usual. Liking the video helps out so much more than you can imagine, and it's free. And seeing as way over half of you guys watching right now have not subscribed, do consider subscribing to the channel. We are on the road to 200k and I love having new faces here on the channel. Thank you very much, and now let's get into the first car, which is the Vauxhall Vectra VXR. When people hear Vauxhall or Opel, they think of cheap, dreary cars that you'd get as your first car, and never own again in the future. And though this may be true with some models, it most definitely is not with the Vectra VXR, as it was powered by a twin turbocharged 2.8 litre V6 engine, producing 280 brake horsepower, taking this family car from 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, going onto a top speed of 162 miles per hour in a Vauxhall. Now you're probably thinking that this car will be super heavy, as it's a massive 4-door saloon, but it weighs under 1.4 tons, making the car lighter than a Ferrari 488 GTB. And you'd be pleased to know that despite the car being as powerful as it is, it still remains affordable being a Vauxhall, with good examples going for around £5,000. Now that is a bargain. In fact, these cars were so incredibly fast and cheap that some police departments in the UK bought them, replaced their VXR bumpers with standard Vectra ones, and used them as patrol cars. Yep, the British police literally used these as sleepers. How mad is that? So if you're in the search of a very fast twin turbocharged practical family car that even the police approve of, the Vectra VXR is the perfect car for you. The Mercedes C32 AMG. Now when you think of fast AMG cars, you think of ones with 63 in their name, like the E63, the S63 and C63. Definitely not a C32. Well, don't let the badge deceive you, as the C32 is quite the fast boy, as it's powered by a 3.2 litre supercharged V6 engine, producing 354 brake horsepower. That's just 7 brake horsepower less than the Mercedes C43 AMG of today. Let that sink in. This 20-year-old family car has near enough the same power as the brand new Mercedes C43 AMG of today. What? Anyways, this meant the car can go from 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, going on to a limited top speed of 155 miles per hour. And surprisingly, despite these wearing an AMG badge, you can pick them up pretty cheap. Very cheap in fact, with examples under 5 grand. My Honda was more expensive than this, like what? Unfortunately, these only came in automatic, so it won't be very engaging to drive, but I guess the sheer power makes up for the lack of engagement. So if you want an affordable sleeper car that's surprisingly powerful, get yourself a C32 AMG. The BMW 135i. BMWs with the greatest engines are usually M cars, like the M3s, the M5s, the M6s, etc. But did you know there are many standard BMWs which have incredible engines? Well, there are, and the 135i happens to be one of those examples, as it's a 1 series which is powered by a turbocharged straight-six engine called the N55, or a twin turbocharged straight-six called the N54. And these engines are no joke. They produce around 300 brake horsepower, but they can easily be tuned to challenge supercars. In fact, the 135i was so powerful that with the sequel, BMW had to stick an M badge in front of it. Speaking of the sequel, despite it wearing an M badge, it's actually slower 0 to 60 than a standard 135i, which is pretty surprising. And with good examples going for half the price of an M135i, it's a great bargain too. So if you want an M135i but can't afford one, get yourself a standard 135i, they're just as good. The Jaguar S-Type R. Now to the naked eye, this may look like a boring old Jaguar S-Type that your history teacher would drive, but in reality, it's an S-Type R, a very different animal to the standard S-Type, as the S-Type R is powered by a supercharged 4.2 litre V8, producing 400 brake horsepower, taking this Jaguar from 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, which is insane for a 1.8 ton car. In fact, it's quicker to 60 than a Ferrari 512 Berlinetta Boxer. And on top of all this insane performance, you also get quite a luxurious interior too, with leather and chrome everywhere. And the only giveaway that this isn't a standard S-Type is its mesh grille, big alloys and its dual exit pipes. But let's be honest, who's gonna notice that anyways? And the greatest thing is that these are fairly affordable too, with cheap examples going for around 4 grand and good ones for around 7. So if you're in the need for a subtle, classy, powerful sleeper, the S-Type R is the perfect car for you. The Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT. Now when you think of sleeper cars, you never think of an SUV. But surprisingly, there are quite a few crazy sleeper SUVs, and the Grand Cherokee SRT is a fantastic example of one, as this Jeep is powered by a massive 6.4-litre V8 engine, producing around 640 brake horsepower. If you saw a car as subtle looking as this, you never expect it to have more power than a Lamborghini Huracan Performante. Anyways, this powerful engine meant the Jeep can go from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. That's quicker than a first-gen Lamborghini Gallardo in a 2-ton SUV. That is mental. Unfortunately, these are pretty rare to come by in places like the UK, and they are pretty expensive compared to the other cars on this list, but you cannot deny that this is one hell of a sleeper car. So if you're searching for a practical, great sounding, powerful daily driver, which chugs a lot of fuel, get yourself a Grand Cherokee SRT, the Volvo V70R. Now, a video of sleepers would not be complete without a Volvo, and the V70R is arguably the greatest Volvo sleeper money could buy. The V70R is Volvo's sportier version of the standard V70 estate car, but unlike most sporty editions of standard cars which have a little extra power, the V70R had a complete engine, drivetrain and suspension swap, as it was powered by a turbocharged 5-cylinder producing 300 brake horsepower, and that paired with an all-wheel drive system meant the V70R could launch from 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds. Now that may not sound super quick, but you gotta remember that this is a very subtle looking heavy estate car, and on top of this insane performance you also get a great sounding car too, seeing as it is of course powered by a turbocharged 5-cylinder engine, and despite them being pretty rare, they are actually surprisingly affordable, with great examples setting you back around £8,000. I think that's a bargain. Now if you want, you can also get yourself an S60R, which is basically a 4-door saloon version of the V70R, but estate cars are more sleepery in my opinion. They look a lot slower than saloons, hence the V70R had to make it into this video. It's a very fast yet practical boy. The first gen Audi RS3. Now you may argue that the RS3 isn't exactly a normal car, but if you take off the RS3 badges, the average person would assume that it's just a standard A3. So the first gen RS3 is a very subtle looking car, but it certainly does not go subtle, as it's powered by a 5-cylinder turbocharged engine which produces 335 brake horsepower, and that packed into an all-wheel drive hatchback meant that Audi can launch from 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. That's quicker than a Lamborghini Murcielago in this hatchback. Now that is impressive. These are however quite expensive, sitting at just under 20 grand, but I reckon it's worth it for a car that's so quick. It's quite literally the ultimate hot hatchback in terms of performance. The Chrysler 300C Hemi. Now the 300C may not be a normal or subtle looking car in the UK, but it's pretty much the equivalent of a Ford Fiesta in the States, and the Hemi 300C is quite the sleeper, as on the outside it doesn't look much different from the standard 300Z, but under the hood lays a 5.7 litre Hemi V8, producing around 360 brake horsepower. Now that may not sound like much for a 5.7 litre engine, but it can launch from 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds, going on to a limited top speed of 155 miles per hour, which is pretty quick for a big sedan. So it may not be supercar quick, but for a car that looks so similar to the standard counterpart, it is quite the sleeper. The Mark V Volkswagen Golf R32. Now no matter where you are in the world, Mark V Golfs are a very common sight, so it seems like the ideal car to convert into a super hot hatchback. Well, Volkswagen are way ahead of you, as in 2005 they introduced their new R32, a Golf that was powered by a 3.2 litre V6 engine, producing near to 250 brake horsepower, which in a Golf is pretty impressive. And thanks to the all-wheel drive system, the R32 can launch from 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, going on to a limited top speed of 155 miles per hour. So it may not be the fastest car in the world, but it is a very surprising car for how subtle it looks. I mean, if you get rid of the R32 badges and ignore the dual X exhaust tips, it looks near enough identical to a Golf GT. Also, if you wanted to, then you can get yourself a Passat R36, which is basically the Passat version of the Golf R32. But I've already mentioned 5 saloon cars and only one hot hatchback, and I wanted to include one more hot hatchback. So if you want a Golf that sounds like a GTR but goes like a stabbed rat, then the Golf R32 is the perfect car for you. Hey, that rhymes. The Mercedes ML63. Now when you think of V8 powered AMG cars, you think of cars like the C63, the E63, the S63, never an SUV. I mean, if you think of an AMG SUV, you probably think of a G-Wagon. But the unsung hero of AMG's SUV lineup is of course the criminally underrated ML63, which is powered by a 6.2 litre V8 engine producing over 500 brake horsepower. That's Ferrari F40 power in a 2.3 ton family SUV. This meant that ML can launch from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, going on to a limited top speed of 155 miles per hour, which is mad. And surprisingly, these MLs aren't too expensive either, with decent examples going for around 10 to 14 grand. Thus, if you're in the search for a powerful, practical, affordable SUV, the ML63 may be the perfect car for you. And that's the end of the video. I really hope you guys did enjoy this one. If you want to see more videos like this one, then make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. We are trying to hit 200k by the end of this year, so any help will be much appreciated. Also, make sure to leave a comment down below. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and I try and get to as many of you people as I can. Thank you very much, and I'll catch up with you guys very soon. Until next time, have a good one, guys. Stay safe, stay inside. Until next time. Cheers.
My dinero's what I'm out to get. Sombrero, I get hat and then I'm out again. Got an A1 Chica with a drive like a 3 litre, that's what she needs D for, like the outfit.